You don't get an intro, you don't get a warm-up, you don't get time to breathe. Because this right here is the moment WWE fans will be arguing about for years. The buzzer hits, the countdown ends, and out walks a man who doesn't sprint, doesn't pose, doesn't acknowledge the chaos around him. He struts, no smile, no nerves, no hesitation, just cold confidence and violence waiting to happen. Oba Femi has entered the Royal Rumble. And if you're already mad, good. If you're already typing, even better. Because this moment just shattered everything you thought you knew about main roster debuts. Now tell me something real quick. Were you expecting Oba Femi to debut in the Rumble, or did this catch you completely off guard? Because WWE didn't just debut Oba Femi, they unleashed him. The crowd doesn't pop at first. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know what they're looking at. This isn't a rookie soaking in the moment. This isn't a prospect waving to the fans. This is a man who walks like he already owns the ring. Commentators scramble. Names get repeated louder. Former NXT champion, absolute powerhouse, unreal athleticism for his size. But none of that prepares you for the energy shift, because the ring was full, and suddenly it isn't. Oba Femi steps between the ropes, rolls his shoulders once, and immediately locks eyes with the nearest victim. No stare down, no trash talk, just impact. The first clothesline nearly decapitates a fan favorite, and listen closely because you can actually hear the air leave that man's lungs. And now the crowd wakes up. Let me ask you this: who do you think was the worst possible first opponent for Oba Femi in that ring? Because whoever it was, they were doomed. This is where people start getting angry, because Oba Femi doesn't struggle, he doesn't wobble, he doesn't need momentum, he lifts, he throws, he discards. One superstar gets hoisted and launched like a sack of sand over the top rope. Elimination. Another tries to jump him from behind. Big mistake. Oba doesn't even turn fully, just swings an elbow that stops the attack dead. The message is clear. This ring is not big enough for fear. And suddenly fans online start asking the same question. Why does he already feel like a final boss? You see it in his posture. You hear it in the way the commentators stop joking. This isn't a debut meant to get cheers. This is a debut meant to get respect. Quick pause. Do you think Oba Femi should be a heel, a face, or something in between on the main roster? Because after this performance, there's no way he stays neutral. Now let's talk about the anger. Because this is where the internet explodes. Oba Femi squares up with a former world champion. The crowd buzzes. This is too much too soon, people mutter. Bell-to-bell dominance like this isn't supposed to happen to established stars. But WWE doesn't care. They want the visual, and they get it. Oba absorbs strikes like they're suggestions. He fires back with a spinebuster that looks like it cracks the ring in half. And then, he eliminates him. Clean, decisive, undeniable. That's when the boos start mixing with cheers. Because fans don't know whether to be impressed or offended. And honestly, that's the sweet spot. Let me know down below, did WWE push Oba Femi too hard here or not hard enough? There is no middle ground. Pick a side. As the Rumble goes on, the ring starts to look different. Less crowded, less hopeful. Everyone's watching Oba now. People circle him like prey. 2-on-1, 3-on-1, doesn't matter. A double clothesline wipes two men out. A running power slam plants another. And when someone finally manages to knock him down, the crowd erupts like they just slayed a dragon. But Oba Femi sits up. No selling, no panic, just a slow rise and a stare that says, "That all you got?" And if you weren't sold before, you are now. Real talk. What's scarier, Oba Femi standing still or Oba Femi charging at full speed? Because both should be illegal. Then comes the moment everyone clips. The stare down. Oba Femi and a WrestleMania main eventer are face to face. The crowd is split. Chants overlap. This isn't NXT anymore. This is the big stage. They lock up. And for the first time all night, Oba doesn't immediately overpower. The tension skyrockets. Strike for strike. Blow for blow. And then, Oba wins the exchange. A brutal headbutt. A thunderous slam. And the other man rolls out under the ropes just to survive. Not eliminated but exposed. Commentators lose their minds. This is his first night. That's when you realize something uncomfortable. Oba Femi doesn't look like a rookie. He looks like a future champion who arrived early. Answer: honestly, is Oba Femi already believable as a world title contender after this Rumble? Because I see the comments coming. Now let's talk psychology. Oba doesn't chase eliminations recklessly. He waits. He watches. He chooses violence strategically. When someone's exhausted, gone. When someone's celebrating, gone. When someone underestimates him, gone immediately. This isn't chaos. This is control. And control is terrifying. Fans online start saying the quiet part out loud. This feels like Brock's debut energy. And suddenly expectations skyrocket. Dangerous territory. So let me throw this at you. Who should be the first major feud for Oba Femi on the main roster? Because if WWE fumbles that, this moment loses power. As the Rumble winds down, fatigue sets in. Even monsters get tired. Oba's breathing heavier now, sweat dripping, chest heaving, but he's still standing, still dangerous, still a problem. A surprise entrant rushes him. Big reaction. Huge clothesline sends Oba over the ropes, but he hangs on. One hand. Pure strength. The crowd rises. Oba pulls himself back in and answers with a devastating powerbomb that echoes. And that's when you know. He belongs. Not tomorrow. Not eventually. Now. Quick one. Should Oba Femi have made it to the final four, or would that be too much? Then comes the elimination. And this is where debates ignite. Oba Femi gets caught. Not outmuscled. Not dominated. Outnumbered. 3 superstars dump him over after a brutal struggle. He hits the floor. The crowd gasps. Half relieved. Half disappointed. But watch his reaction. No tantrum. No frustration. He stands. Stares back at the ring. Nods once. And walks up the ramp like a man who just made a statement, not a man who lost. That image? That's what sells everything. Tell me. Was Oba Femi eliminated at the perfect time, or should he have gone all the way? Social media detonates. Clips trend instantly. Debates rage. Too dominant. Star making. Best debut since. Overpushed already. And WWE? They got exactly what they wanted. Noise. Because love him or hate him. You are talking about Oba Femi. And that's power. By the end of the night, one truth is clear. The main roster didn't change Oba Femi. Oba Femi changed the main roster. No intro. No warning. No mercy. Just a strut and a statement. So I'll leave you with this. In 5 years, will we look back at this Royal Rumble as the night Oba Femi became a legend, or just another missed opportunity? Because the fallout from this moment didn't end when the cameras cut away. It started there. By the time the Rumble match ended, Oba Femi's name was already being argued in group chats, comment sections, and timelines like it had been on the main roster for years. Not who is this guy, but why does he feel inevitable? And that question? That's dangerous. Because WWE fans don't fear talent. They fear booking momentum. Now pause for a second. Do you think WWE planned this reaction, or did Oba Femi force their hand? Because those are two very different outcomes. Let's rewind just a bit and talk about something subtle most people missed. Watch how veterans reacted to him inside the ring. Not selling? Everyone does that. Big spots? That's normal. But the spacing around Oba Femi? That's respect. Superstars kept distance. They waited for numbers. They didn't rush him alone unless they had no choice. That tells you everything. This wasn't scripted fear. This was professional instinct. Because when a man that big moves that fast, you don't improvise, you survive. And fans noticed. People started saying, he doesn't feel like he's visiting the main roster, he feels like he invaded it. That's not accidental. So answer this honestly. Is Oba Femi already one of the most believable powerhouses WWE has right now? Think about that before you comment. Now here's where things get controversial. Because the strut, that calm, arrogant walk, that wasn't just character. That was messaging. WWE could have had him sprint. They could have had him stare at the WrestleMania sign. They could have had him soak in cheers. They chose none of that. They chose dominance without validation. And that's why some fans are mad. Because wrestling fans are used to earning dominance over time. Oba skipped the line. And WWE let him. That's why people are already saying, this guy is being positioned above half the roster. And they're not wrong. Let me ask you, should WWE protect established stars more, or is it time to create new monsters no matter who it upsets? Because you can't have both. Let's talk eliminations again, specifically who he eliminated. These weren't nobodies. These weren't throwaway bodies. These were names with history. Men who've held gold. Men who've main event pay-per-views. And Oba Femi tossed them like they were training partners. That's when the narrative locked in. This wasn't impressive for a debut. This was threatening to the hierarchy. And if you think WWE didn't know that, they absolutely did. That's why commentary kept hammering the point. First night, main roster debut. Unbelievable. They were telling you how to feel, because if they didn't, fans would push back harder. Quick one, which elimination shocked you the most during Oba Femi's Rumble run? Name it. No dodging. Now let's zoom out. Because Royal Rumbles are about future stars. And WWE just quietly planted a flag. Oba Femi didn't win. He didn't even make the final 2. But he won the conversation. And sometimes, that's more powerful. Look at past Rumbles. Some winners disappeared within months. Some non-winners became cornerstones. The difference? Presence. Oba Femi felt like someone who will still matter when this Rumble is remembered a decade from now. That's rare. So think long-term. Will Oba Femi main event WrestleMania one day? Yes or no? No, maybe. Commit. Here's where the anger spikes again. Because fans immediately started fantasy booking, world title matches, dominant streaks, undefeated runs. And that's dangerous, because expectations kill careers faster than bad matches. If WWE doesn't strike while the iron is hot, fans will turn. If they push him too fast, fans will revolt. It's a razor's edge, and Oba Femi is walking it already. Which brings us to the real question nobody wants to ask. Is the main roster ready for Oba Femi? Not the other way around. Because the locker room is full of stars who suddenly don't look as intimidating. And perception? Perception is everything. Answer this carefully. Who on the current main roster instantly feels less dominant after Oba Femi's debut? You know the name. Say it. Another detail that matters: selling. Oba didn't sell like a superhero. He sold like a tank. Damage slowed him. It didn't stop him. That distinction is crucial. It makes his eventual downfall feel earned, not exposed. Which is why his elimination worked. He didn't look weak. He looked overwhelmed. And that keeps him dangerous. Because next time, he adapts. That's how stars are built. So let me ask, should Oba Femi be protected in singles matches for his first year, or tested immediately? Both paths have consequences. Now imagine this. Raw, SmackDown, music hits, that same strut, that same silence. The crowd already knows what he can do. No explanation needed. That's the power of a Rumble debut done right. And WWE nailed it. But only if they follow through. Because if Oba disappears into mid-card limbo, this moment becomes trivia. And Ring Rumble fans know WWE has wasted momentum before. So last question. What would be the biggest mistake WWE could make with Oba Femi after this Rumble? Pin this comment. Argue it out. Because this story isn't over. It just started. And whether Oba Femi becomes a legend, or a cautionary tale, depends on what happens next. Drop your answers. Argue it out. Share this with someone who disagrees with you. Because Ring Rumble lives for moments like this, and this one shook the ring.